Bro, that shed and window analogy is actually terrifyingly accurate.
Wait, because once he said stained glass, I was like, yeah, I've lived there.
The scary part is you can't prove it from inside the shed.
Exactly, and he keeps going. Awareness first, then you test the framework.
But I'm pausing it. CIA teaches you how to see the world really is.
Fair, because it's selling a vibe too, like, trust me, I have tradecraft.
Anytime someone says information advantage, my spidey sense tingles.
Still, the practical triangle, information to knowledge to experience, felt solid.
The flywheel part. He basically said society skips the experience step.
And that's true in interviews, courses, even podcasts. People memorize, don't experiment.
He's like, stop believing, run a controlled experiment on reality.
But then he starts talking persuasion like it's a system to win.
Yeah, influence rapidly sounds like manipulation cosplay.
Yet he did give a surprisingly wholesome lever, perspective versus perception.
Dude, perception is what I believe, perspective is what you believe. That's gold.
I liked how he framed it as adding information, my perception plus your perspective.
That's basically stop centering yourself and you double your data.
The implication is brutal, though. Most high performers stay trapped in their own lens.
And he called out the meritocracy myth hard, like scores don't fully explain outcomes.
That part reminded me of grades and labels, how an E can become your identity.
The I am an E self-label is the most underrated villain in personal growth.
And his entrepreneur argument was, labels don't define you if you change the game.
But does entrepreneurship always shatter the glass? Or do some people just build a bigger shed?
Bigger shed, fancier lighting, new branding, same prison.
Exactly. The breakthrough by testing idea is the real filter.
Speaking of testing, he kept pushing, don't believe me, exercise it.
That educate, exercise, experience loop is basically CIA's version of learning by doing.
Still, CIA skills to improve sales is such a weird translation.
Spy education for your CRM. That's a headline I didn't ask for.
But the car salesman example, he showed perspective gathering, not just selling.
Yeah, he asked why people buy a car, and then you infer needs like safety for kids.
And that links back to the windows and doors conversational game.
I love that. Follow the conversational openings to collect the right info.
But it could also become a script. You hint to steer the other person.
CIA-style small talk. I hint, you leak, we win.
Nah, that's the sinister version. The sincere version is, listen deeply, then ask better questions.
The question that guy asked at the start. What's in front of you that you haven't said? That's the real power.
Forcing honesty without interrogating. That's hard to do.
I'm also intrigued by how he framed trust and courage.
He said entrepreneurs gamble on themselves instead of betting on the house.
And he compared it to his mother-in-law CDs, like safety became a trap.
That's generational conditioning, though. People think 8% is responsible, and anything else is reckless.
Meanwhile, inflation is the silent assassin of safe.
Not an assassin, just rude math.
Okay, but then he goes into CIA ethics and says he doesn't care about common good.
Yeah, that's the line that made me sit back. Super utilitarian, almost cold.
He basically says, I care about my people, my family, and that's it.
And I get it as clarity of priorities, but ethics matters if you're teaching influence tools.
It's like, here's how to persuade. Plus, by the way, I don't do altruism.
That combination always makes me want guardrails. Test it, but also test your intent.
The perfection paradox bit was better. Do execution before you perfect the plan.
He compared it to post-9/11 deployment, 48 hours planning, then action on the ground.
That's a good mental model. Mistakes are data, not failure.
And it ties to bend the world. But maybe it's just be faster to reality, not faster to fantasy.
Bend the world sounds mystical, but he really means operational feedback loops.
Another thread I noticed. He keeps returning to lack of information leads to speculation.
Yep, the whole conspiracy anatomy thing was basically brain hacking for open loops.
Still, I don't love turning real tragedies into frameworks for epistemology.
Same. It can educate, but it can also justify certainty too quickly.
CIA, real shooter, different sides of the internet. My brain was like, please be careful.
But the core takeaway I'm keeping is, don't close loops prematurely. Update with new evidence.
And for personal life, don't let the label define the identity. Test the beliefs in the real world.
So basically, shatter the glass, then run experiments, then update.
And maybe stop pretending the shed is the only cabin.
All right, we're aligned. He's annoyingly dramatic, but the mechanisms are useful.
I just want people to use it to grow, not to manipulate.
Deal. Next time we'll talk about how to apply this without turning into a control freak.
Perfect. Episode 2 will probably roast us for that too.
Cool, thanks for listening, and go test something today, like, immediately.
See you in the next one. Subscribe, stay curious, and break a circle gently.
Teaser for episode 2. We're going deeper into Get Quiet and why it changes decision-making. The shed thing is funny, but it's also brutally accurate, no?
Accurate maybe, but when he starts talking systems, I get wary.
Wary of what? CIA cosplay or the real message getting lost?
Both, honestly, because break the glass can be manipulative.
But he keeps saying test the framework, exercise first, then experience, right?
Yeah, like he's trying to inoculate people against blind belief.
That's the key. Information to knowledge to experience flywheel.
Still, intelligence world language triggers my BS detector.
Your BS detector is basically a government building guarded 24/7.
I know, but persuasion plus ethics is a tightrope.
Tightrope, but he actually made a point. Most people don't even know what they're optimizing.
The part where he reframes grades as labels inside the shed, that landed.
Dude, labeling theory, like self-esteem becomes an outcome predictor, that's real.
And he compares it to showing up like an E grade. That's uncomfortably relatable.
Excuse me, I have a syllabus-based destiny. Brutal.
But I like the shift. You can get an E without becoming an E.
That's basically identity separation. Performance isn't personhood.
Still, my worry is, once people buy the world is a machine idea, they stop questioning power.
Wait, do you think he's encouraging fatalism?
Not explicitly, but systems repeat themselves can turn into resignation fast.
Unless you interpret it like entrepreneurship, systems are malleable. Just copy and improve them.
Yes, the excellence through execution thing is basically anti-resignation.
Perfection paradox. In making 1% changes forever, never feeling impact.
And his Afghanistan example, plan in 48 hours, deploy, learn on ground, that's execution under uncertainty.
That is the opposite of my app idea backlog, which is tragically immortal.
Same. My backlog is like a shed that multiplies.
Okay, but let's anchor this. How do you actually get perspective in real conversations?
Like the perception versus perspective formula, my center seat versus your center seat.
It's basically stop narrating from your POV like it's a documentary.
That line is going on the mug. Anyway, the execution is listening plus digging questions.
He calls it windows and doors. Follow the open windows you're shown in conversation.
I loved that he used car sales as the test case. Opening assumptions matter.
Like, why buy a car? Kids, travel, safety, start broad, then get specific.
But sales is where ethics gets slippery. Perspective can be used to exploit needs.
True, but his argument was training sales teams to stop rigid scripts and actually understand the buyer's reality.
He also said, high performers still don't do it. That's a business tragedy.
Which is why he keeps steering back to exercises. Educate, practice, then experience.
So for a podcast host, you literally quiet the sensory organs, get quiet, then observe.
Clean your palate before ice cream is such a weird but effective metaphor.
Because attention isn't just focus. It's what your brain indexes before you speak.
And then the host's question becomes the doorway. How are you, long answer?
That story with Simon was perfect. Loneliness hijacks the whole agenda.
That's courage, right? Going off script when you're afraid.
Courage is real, but I want to challenge one thing. Trust isn't magic.
Yeah, it's learned odds, not vibes.
Exactly like pro athletes. Remember the make, not the miss.
So betting on yourself is just investing in reps until outcomes align.
That connects to the finance example. CDs versus entrepreneurs betting on themselves.
Meanwhile, the older generation sees house wins and assumes the game is unwinnable.
And if your shed says safe and guaranteed, then test the framework sounds irresponsible.
Irresponsible until the framework actually produces a raise, right?
Yeah, his 32K raise story is basically proof by outcome, not charisma.
But again, I'm not buying CIA teaches success. I'm buying practice systems work.
CIA logic is just a branding wrapper for repeatable thinking skills.
Exactly, the wrapper is whatever, but the method is the method.
Now the ethics question, spy education to improve sales, can be both helpful and harmful.
So the guardrail is, test it yourself and don't force outcomes on people.
Also, don't treat human beings like chess pieces. That's how you turn perspective into predation.
And he even admitted no altruism toward some people, but care for his family. Pragmatic, not saintly.
That honesty is refreshing, but it still leaves the question, what's the moral boundary?
I think the boundary is results that improve both sides, not just one side winning.
Like the cheating becomes innovation argument, yeah, that can justify shady stuff.
Cheat is a loaded word, but it's really about advantage and iteration.
Advantage is fine, deception is where it breaks. Perspective shouldn't require lying.
Agreed. Use questions, not tricks. Use empathy, not manipulation.
All right, so step 1, beyond awareness. Educate, exercise, experience, then iterate, not perfect.
And whenever you feel trapped in the shed, ask, who drew this circle and can I step out?
Also, gently, because stepping out feels wrong at first, your nervous system will complain.
Great, so go test one framework today, like right after this.
Ask one better question, listen for the window, then try the next rep tomorrow.
That's how you shatter the glass without becoming the guy with a hammer.
Exactly, break circles, don't break people.
All right, we're out. Go execute something small and let the world update your beliefs.
And remember, test, don't just trust. See you next time.
Teaser for episode 2. We're going deeper into Get Quiet and why it changes decision-making. The funniest part is you make it sound like control is just awareness with teeth.
Yeah, control without the villain branding, more like process control.
But okay, help me. When you say people see through a shed, that's psychology, right?
It's basically lens thinking. Your environment teaches you what to notice and what to ignore.
I buy the lens metaphor, but how do we know it's not just another lens?
Exactly why he keeps yelling test it, like a school assignment for beliefs.
Test is the cheat code, because if it fails, you don't need faith, you need data.
And data is less emotionally sticky than a charismatic teacher, honestly.
So step 1 is awareness. You're inside the shed, you chose it, and you can leave?
Awareness is the prerequisite, because otherwise you think your cage is reality itself.
That's such a clean way to say it. Reality shouldn't come with stained glass.
And he's almost gentle about it. You don't clean the window, you shatter it.
I loved that shatter line because it implies violence, but it's actually self-upgrading.
And then the mechanics show up. Educate, exercise, experience. Information to knowledge to proof.
Exercise sounds like gym time, not persuasion time.
But persuasion is a muscle. If you don't practice the questions, you revert to your default ego script.
Default ego script. My view is correct. Now please validate it.
Exactly. Perception versus perspective is basically ego versus curiosity.
And perspective is, stop assuming you're the center of the room, even emotionally.
Because common ground isn't found by broadcasting your perception, It's found by entering theirs.
This is where sales training gets spicy, though, because most salespeople are terrified of real questions.
They memorize scripts and chase call numbers like the world is a spreadsheet that loves them.
We need 100 calls to convert 12%. Bro, you're outsourcing thinking to math.
The alternative is windows and doors. Follow the conversational openings instead of forcing outcomes.
But does this become manipulative? Like, choose the windows sounds like steering.
It can be manipulative if you're hunting weakness for advantage, not understanding.
And the guest said, I don't care about the common good, I care about my people. That's ethically blunt.
It's blunt, but he's also saying test frameworks so you're not trapped by his authority.
That part I genuinely respect. He's not begging you to worship CIA vibes.
He's like, try it in your life, see if it actually helps, then keep or ditch.
I want the practical rep, though. Like, what would I do today as a podcast host?
1 rep. Before guest talk, get quiet, reduce sensory overload, then listen for their true agenda.
Get quiet sounds like meditate for 7 minutes, then pretend you're a spy.
Yes, but the point is indexing. Your brain can't analyze if it's screaming.
So quiet first, then ask one open-ended question like, how are you? But without turning it into therapy.
Exactly. Open-ended, then follow their thread, not your outline.
And follow windows and doors in the dialogue, like when they mention a move or kids or loneliness.
And you'll realize your agenda might be wrong. And that's the courage part.
Courage is doing the feared thing anyway, going off script, asking without preparation.
But isn't there a risk you drift into fluff? Like, off-script doesn't automatically mean good content.
True, but the way he frames it is trust your pattern library from experience.
So it's not random, it's informed improvisation, like jazz with reps.
Jazz CIA training engine is a sentence I didn't expect today.
Speaking of reps, he also warns against the perfection paradox.
Planning a 5% better strategy forever until your opportunity dies of old age.
Excellence through execution. Do the thing, accept mistakes, improve through action.
That's how you feel the impact, not by polishing the plan until it's untouchable.
And his bend the world line, are we talking about negotiation or just expectation setting?
I'm always wary of bend the world because it can become victim-blaming magic thinking.
But he grounds it in something real. Unfair advantage via recognizing systems and exploiting openings ethically enough.
Ethically enough is the phrase that keeps you sane in these conversations.
He even ties it to competition, like blue ocean versus red ocean. Your strategy changes what's possible.
And then the story gets darker. Conspiracy thinking, missing info, closing the loop.
Yeah, he frames conspiracies as facts, then lack of info, then speculation, then a satisfying narrative loop.
That's annoyingly accurate about how people spiral, especially when emotions demand closure.
And he argues healthy suspicion is fine. Speculation is where the brain invents certainty.
Speculation is basically imagination filing paperwork as evidence.
But I'll push back. The framework might oversimplify, because sometimes people do have real intel.
True, but the value is, treat missing info like missing info, not like an invitation to perform conclusions.
Exactly. Don't close the loop too fast. That's the meta skill.
And then he drops the deeper personal twist. Why go through pain when you can go around it?
I liked it, but I'm worried people will weaponize it, like skipping therapy and calling it strategy.
Yeah, go around the mess works when it's acceptance plus forward motion, not denial.
And for true loss, there's no shortcut. He literally admitted that with the example.
So it's not never feel, it's don't get stuck thinking the only path is through.
Which loops back to his shed. You're allowed to choose routes, not only endure the walls.
You'd make a killer motivational poster. Choose routes, not cages.
CIA slogans are wild, man. Keep your sensory organs from screaming.
All right, before we spiral into spy poetry, give me a final one-liner for listeners.
Do one awareness check, then one execution rep. Test your belief. Don't just hold it.
And ask better questions, because perspective doesn't appear, you earn it in conversation.
Beautiful. Go shatter the glass with small actions, not big speeches.
All right, we're done. Go do something small today and let the world update you.
And seriously, test one framework and track what changes in your next interaction.
All right, next time, same chaos energy, sharper questions.
See you in episode 2, deeper on Get Quiet and how it turbocharges decision-making.
Okay, but the whole shed glass thing, doesn't it sound a bit mystical?
Mystical, maybe, but the mechanism feels like behavior change, not magic.
Explain it like I'm building a business, not like I'm joining a cult.
Fine. Awareness is noticing your inputs are stale and your output is predictable.
CIA logic for YouTube entrepreneurship. Love that branding.
Dude, the key is education, exercise, experience. Information to knowledge to proof.
I like that because it forces experimentation instead of blind belief.
Exactly. And it directly attacks the "I just listened" trap.
But CIA taught him this is still a loaded claim, right?
Sure, but you judge the model by outcomes, not by the badge.
So your test is, does the framework actually improve decisions?
Yes, and does it improve conversations, sales, and influence without being gross?
Influence is such a creepy word, but it can just mean clarity.
Perspective versus perception was the cleanest example, honestly.
Wait, how do you train that in real life, not in a neat thought experiment?
You ask open questions, then you listen for the lens they're already using.
That's just be curious, but with more structure and fewer vibes.
It's curious with an exercise, so you don't rely on charisma.
And he added, get quiet to sharpen observation. Does that hold water?
It's basically reducing sensory overload so you notice patterns you'd miss.
Like meditation, but repackaged as intelligence training.
If it works, even if the label is prefrontal cortex mode.
The windows and doors conversation idea, hinting and steering, feels useful.
It's like pattern matching, where the other person is pointing, but you choose what to follow.
I worry about the dark version. Does it become manipulation?
The difference is consent and truth. Are you building mutual understanding or extracting value?
Mutual understanding sounds boring. Extracting value sounds like every sales guy.
And he basically roasted scripted selling, numbers and law of averages without perspective.
That roasting is fair, though. Most sales training is call more, close harder.
Instead of asking, what does the customer actually need right now?
He gave the coffee shop example. Customers are coming from somewhere and going somewhere.
And that's the blue ocean mindset in disguise. Stop selling coffee, sell the moment.
Sell the moment, not the roast. That should be on a tote bag somewhere.
Don't give marketers ideas, bro.
Okay, but the conversation got political and conspiracy adjacent for a minute.
Yeah, and I felt myself bracing for, here's how control works.
The system argument, meritocracy is a belief system. Do you buy that?
Partially. Systems definitely shape outcomes, but calling everything belief programming can flatten nuance.
Exactly. Sometimes people just work hard and still lose because the market's cruel.
And sometimes people work hard, but they're just doing rituals for status.
Where I agree, awareness changes your behavior, regardless of your metaphysics.
That's the practical takeaway. Don't argue about the shed. Exit it with experiments.
But he also said you can cheat and it becomes okay when others copy you. That's spicy.
Yeah, I didn't love the moral shrug, even if the strategy point is real.
Business advantages exist, but cheating is a moral category, not just a tactic.
Agreed, there's unfair advantage, and there's unfair.
Unfair is my new startup thesis.
Still, the gap between perception and reality applies. People don't see their advantage being used.
And that connects to perfection paradox, right? Stop endlessly improving and actually execute.
Yes, perfection can delay impact, and impact teaches you what to fix.
This is the part I actually want to steal. Execute, expect mistakes, then iterate.
Excellence through execution is basically ship reality, learn from the wounds.
Learn from the wounds is also how I describe podcasting.
Your wounds are just better questions now.
Then there was the trauma go around it concept. What do you think?
It's compelling, but I want to check it doesn't become avoidance disguised as empowerment.
Yeah, if people go around pain without integrating it, they might just redirect it.
But the version described was, accept what happened, then choose the next causal link.
Like reframing the domino effect. This pain became the reason I built X.
Exactly. And it's not forget it. It's don't let it dictate your trajectory completely.
Also compared to you must go through every emotion, this is faster and more agentic.
Which is probably why it landed. Entrepreneurs hate waiting for healing phases.
But we should still respect that some losses can't be turned into a business lesson.
Yeah, grief isn't a curriculum, and not everyone can bend the world immediately.
So how do we convert all this into one action for a listener today?
Pick one conversation you keep avoiding, then ask one open question and listen purely for their perspective.
And do the get quiet thing before the interaction. 30 seconds, just reset.
That's your CIA rep. Quiet sensory organs, earn informational advantage, execute the next step.
I swear you could sell that to anyone as advanced listening technology.
Call it whatever you want, just test it and track what changes tomorrow.
That's the whole thesis then. Don't believe, verify, shatter the glass with experience.
And remember, awareness without execution is just more talk.
All right, I'm actually doing this. One hard conversation, one open question, no script. Okay, wait. This shatter the glass thing is sounding way more useful than spooky.
Useful, sure, but I'm still side-eyeing the CIA teaches you success branding.
Yeah, but the exercises are kinda normal. Quiet, practice, then experience.
The model is basically information to knowledge to experience, right?
Exactly. And the twist is they force the experience step instead of infinite talking.
That part alone could fix half the world's podcasts. People just narrate forever.
And sales. He's saying stop scripting and start collecting their reality.
But here's where I push back. Spy education makes it sound like manipulation.
I know, but he keeps coming back to permission-based behavior. Learn, test, adapt.
He also admits people might be misled or trapped in the shed, so it's not risk-free.
True, but I like the test the framework ethic. Don't just worship him.
That preferred approach line was the strongest. Learn, run the experiment, see if it works.
And the windows and doors conversation thing? Follow what opens, don't wrestle control back.
Windows sounds like active listening with steering wheels hidden inside questions.
Hidden steering wheels is such a good way to say it.
Very spy, very, I'm totally not steering.
But the underlying point is simple. Ask open questions that force perspective talk.
And for that to work, you need quiet first. Otherwise, you're just waiting to speak.
Get quiet is like preloading your attention buffer.
Bro, that is literally attention buffering as a product.
I also liked the perfection paradox. Incremental tweaks without execution.
Okay, but execution can also be chaotic. Not everything benefits from just do it.
Sure, but CIA logic here is execute enough to feel impact, then iterate from mistakes.
So excellent through execution, not perfect through planning.
And then he went super dark. Trauma, go around pain, not go through it.
That part made me pause. It sounds empowering, but can it become avoidance?
Yeah, I want to ask, when he says go around, is he respecting grief or just bypassing it?
The story had a millionaire frame. Mum cheated, domino led to independence, so glad it happened.
I mean, that line is wild. I'm glad she cheated is not neutral.
He tried to soften it by saying some tragedies are unavoidable and shaping happens later.
But you can't just copy-paste his meaning-making onto people in acute pain.
Exactly. For some people, the shatter the glass becomes your brain can just reframe everything.
Yet I get the practical angle. Accept what you can't change, then move forward with your agency.
Agency is the good part. He's just dressing it up in tradecraft metaphors.
And honestly, bend the world is entrepreneur talk, not necessarily evil villain talk.
Control is still the word I don't love, though.
Yeah, control is how you attract the wrong audience and trigger the right alarms.
The marketing claim about CIA controlling you is where the conspiracy brain gets invited.
Especially when he starts talking about systems, church, Harley-Davidson. No negative intent.
He's basically saying every institution runs on belief plus reinforcement.
That actually explains the shed idea. You're born inside a story and treated like it's reality.
And he connects it to meritocracy, myths, grades, call center stagnation, all that.
The grades conversation was low-key, a mic drop. An E doesn't make you an E.
That's stereotype threat applied to self-identity. He at least gestures at the mechanism.
Then, entrepreneurship becomes the act of stepping outside the circle and testing your own model.
But the nothing is unfair line, nothing is unfair, so you can do anything, can be comforting, maybe too comforting.
Yeah, it's motivational philosophy. Reality still has constraints: capital, health, luck.
The shed can be 30k a year or 300k a year. Pretending they're the same is spicy ignorance.
Spicy ignorance is going on the merch list.
So where do you land? Is his framework genuinely useful or mostly narrative dressing?
Useful, quiet attention, perspective seeking, practice with feedback, then do the experiment.
I land on, there's signal in the mechanics, noise in the authority cosplay.
Exactly. Steal the tools, ignore the mystique, test for yourself like he said.
So for our listeners, pick one boring argument you keep having. Ask one open question. Listen for perspective.
And do it after getting quiet. Otherwise, you're just weaponizing your own perception.
Then execute whatever tiny action you learned and measure what changes tomorrow.
If nothing changes, you don't blame yourself. You rerun the experiment.
That's the part people hate. It's not belief, it's feedback.
All right, let's do a quick mental one. What window opened today in this conversation?
Mine is that sales podcasting are the same skill. Optimize for perspective, not performance.
Mine is that the get quiet step is basically operational discipline for attention.
Attention discipline, the real CIA, not the conspiracy stuff.
Yep. Now let's wrap before we accidentally recruit someone into the shed cult.
Please don't recruit anyone. Just recruit habits. We're civilized monsters.
Great chat, man. Next one, we go even deeper into how this all turns into action. All right, see you.
Episode 2, we're stress testing the ethics and the execution, where break the glass helps and where it breaks you.
Okay, window check. What clicked so hard in you today?
That sales and podcasting are basically the same loop. Perspective first, performance second.
Dude, that's so true, it's annoying. Like my brain already knew it, though.
What about you? Besides, attention discipline is CIA, obviously.
Get quiet felt like operational discipline for attention, not meditation vibes.
Sure, but you know people will market it as manifestation, but spy-coded, right?
I mean, just make them do the exercise and see if it works.
Yeah, because the whole thing is, test the framework. Don't worship the messenger.
Exactly, you don't need my belief, you need your own experiment.
But here's the uncomfortable part. Shatter the glass sounds liberating.
And also kind of controlling if you reframe it wrong, right?
Yes, like, are we breaking your worldview, or are we teaching you to manage it better?
I think the difference is consent and feedback, educate, exercise, experience.
CIA steps for consentful self-improvement. That should be a product label.
Don't trademark that, you'll get sued by everyone.
Seriously, though, the educational part felt like information becomes knowledge only after practice.
And that's why most advice never changes your life. It never hits the experience step.
Right, people stop at cool ideas, then wonder why results don't appear.
That's the shed trap. You can't prove the glass is dirty, so you never leave.
The ant in the circle analogy is brutal, because it's not even malice.
It's just environment plus habit plus shrinking options.
And that's why the "you can always leave" line is actually psychological, not motivational.
You noticed how often people defend the circle with facts, not feelings?
Yeah, the drive is too far. The taxes are too high. No support network. All real reasons.
But the ranking is wrong. They treat challenge cost as higher than reward value.
So the real optimization is perception of trade-offs, not the trade-offs themselves.
Exactly, sell the bridge, not the destination.
Okay, now you're doing sales metaphors like me, and I hate it.
Full circle, bro. Call it perspective plus punchline.
The sales example was my favorite. If you ask the right opening question, the customer narrates their world.
That open windows and doors thing, people steer the conversation by what they reveal.
But it also requires humility, right? Because you don't know what you're missing.
And courage too, like going off script even when your ego wants control.
The preamble question is basically permission for chaos, but with intent.
Yep, how are you, with room for a long answer. Suddenly loneliness walks in.
And then you realize you weren't interviewing for topics, you were interviewing for truth.
Okay, but let's push it. Where's the line between truth-seeking and manipulation?
I'd say the line is motive plus method transparency after the fact.
Meaning, are you optimizing for the other person's best outcome or your scorecard?
Because that don't care about common good honesty, people will flinch at that.
They'll flinch, but honestly, at least it's coherent.
Yeah, I care about my people beats pretending you're Mother Teresa during a negotiation.
Still, business ethics matters. If you can bend rules, you can bend harm into profit.
So the danger isn't CIA logic itself, it's people using frameworks without character.
Character is the missing variable nobody wants to measure.
Speaking of missing variables, the cheating becomes innovation part. Where do you stand?
I'm allergic to glorifying cheating, even if it turns into Napster-era progress.
But the deeper point was advantage comes from opportunity, and systems reward one kind of advantage more.
So unfair advantage is just unacknowledged effort plus access.
And access often comes from investors, networks, and timing, not just meritocracy theater.
Which loops back to the shed. If you accept nothing is fair, you stop begging the system.
You start betting on yourself instead of renting someone else's certainty.
That's why the CD retirement story stung. Because it's safe, but it can be dead money.
But it's also what many people can do without risking bankruptcy or family stability.
True, bet on yourself isn't bet your life, it's bet your capacity.
Capacity investing sounds like a financial product, but healthier.
And then you execute. You don't perfect plan forever. The perfection paradox.
We'll make it 5% better tomorrow is how you die with notebooks full of almosts.
Excellence through execution. Take action. Learn from mistakes. Repeat.
I liked that Bush-Afghanistan example because it implied stakes require felt impact fast.
And that's basically operationalizing your beliefs. Your beliefs become behavior.
And behavior becomes your new narrative instead of therapy speech versions of you.
Though I will say the go around trauma instead of through it idea is provocative.
Yeah, it can sound dismissive, but it's basically redirect the causal chain.
Like, accept what you can't change, then use the domino effect you wish existed.
Exactly. Don't deny pain, but stop using it as a cage that blocks forward motion.
That's the shed reframe again. The glass is conditioning, not fate.
And before we go further, this whole conversation about control and conspiracy, it's a minefield.
Especially when people hear CIA teaches you to see the world and assume permission to believe weird stuff.
Right, the antidote is always test the framework, check evidence, update beliefs.
Which is why the flywheel matters. Information, knowledge, experience, more information.
And the podcast angle is wild. You can build that flywheel in one conversation if you listen like a spy.
Listen like a spy is gonna trend, I'm calling it.
Just don't let it turn into a costume. Keep it behavioral and ethical.
Final thought, shatter the glass, but don't break the person.
Love that. Break your assumptions, not your guests.
All right, that's our wrap for episode 1. Go quiet for 5 minutes today and test one framework.
And if it works, steal it for your workflow. If it doesn't, kill it quickly. No attachment.
Catch you in episode 2 when we stress test the ethics and the execution, where break the glass helps and where it breaks you.
Teaser for episode 2. We're going to talk about how influence becomes control when you skip the conscience step.